So far, plays pretty even here, which I kind of
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, welcome to tonight. Item 3, approve any corrections in the minutes of the regular board meeting held on August 17th, 2020, and the special meeting on August 26th, 2020. Could I have a motion, please?
Stryker.
Thank you, Schwenker. Second?
Dick.
Dick, thank you. Any discussion? I didn't notice anything that I had found that needed to be corrected, so I thought it was all right. Anybody else? Okay, let's go ahead and have a vote.
Mr. Lovely?
Yes.
Ms. Stryker?
Yes.
Mr. Carney?
Yes.
Mr. Dick?
Yes.
Okay, item 4, I don't think we've got anybody participating in that today. And public participation, we don't have anyone signed up for that either. So we'll move on to item 6, reports of the treasurer. Approve the following August 31st, 2020 reports: cash position, cash register, register ledger, investment report, journal entries, budget versus actual. Could I have a motion?
Dick.
Dick, thank you. Second?
Ledley.
Lovely, thank you. Any discussion? Jill, is there anything you would highlight for us in there that we need to be aware of?
Not this time.
Not this time, okay. Okay, then that's, anybody else have anything? Okay, let's go ahead and have a vote, please.
Ms. Stryker?
Yes.
Mr. Carney?
Yes.
Mr. Dick?
Yes.
Mr. Lovely?
Yes.
Okay, item 7, superintendent's report, communications.
I think things are going really well. Many of the items will be covered in the committee reports. We had a very successful start. I think things went smoothly. Yeah, we're still transitioning people back and forth between COLA and school-based instruction right now, so people can find where they're comfortable at for the semester, so that continues to be worked on. And I think that we have some updates that will be coming out soon. We'll have on our website a link that will help us with our COVID reporting that we are mandated to do, so that families can also see that information. So that's all going to be posted here in the next week as we're open now. And I'm just really proud of our staff and our students. They did an excellent job, and we were super excited to be open today. So proud of the Wildcats.
Awesome. It's great to hear. I know I drove by and I sent Jim a picture of the full parking lot at the high school. It was nice to see.
Yeah.
And so it is good. Great. Okay, we'll go ahead and move on to item 8, go board committee reports. Finance committee.
Yeah, I just had just a few items here on that to report on. I think the first thing that I just wanted to make mention of was, I know we talked about that the final payment had been made on the field house. So I just kind of put together a little, I just said, just on behalf of Kent City Schools and the Board of Education, just thank you to the athletic boosters and to Rodney Hensel and to everyone who made that, the facility possible. And I think, we're all very grateful and appreciative to have this facility and the opportunities that it, provides our students. So.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. Not a lot of schools our size have that kind of nice facility.
Yeah,
So it's amazing.
it's a really wonderful thing to have for sure. So, and then just a couple other things to touch base on. I know I think the football and weightlifting fund was in a 200 fund, and that was a student managed activity. It's now being moved into the 300 fund, just like any other athletic accounts. And that one is not managed by student activity. And then I know we had spoken with Brett in regards to having locker rooms installed in the girls' locker rooms in the field house, as they're currently using cubbies. I think the initial quote was for around $8,000, but that was to purchase 40 lockers. And I think we're looking at only probably getting 34 total. So I think 30 of those lockers would go for use in the girls' locker rooms, and then the other remaining 4 would probably be used for the coaches' offices. And I think the only other thing that I had here was, I know that there was some damage that was sustained at the KES in the C pod from a lightning strike, a power fault, but everything's running smoothly with that. It's being taken care of. So I know the deductible was $500, and we've already received our reimbursement for the expenses.
It was about $40,000.
Right.
And it had to do with our HVAC system, the compressors. So we were very thankful that Jill was able to navigate that for us. That would have been very expensive.
Definitely, yeah. So it sounds like everything's rolling along with that, so. I don't think I had anything else to report on unless I missed anything.
No, and I was just gonna add, we have our permanent appropriations and certificate of estimated resource on tonight. By law, we have to have that done by the board, passed by the board, and then filed with the county auditor before September 30th. I'm trying to keep that in line with our 5-year. We don't have to file our 5-year until November this year. I'm going to probably do that. Normally I would file it in October, even without the new thing saying we don't have to do it until November. But I want to wait till November. I'm trying to trend our salaries and benefits and things like that, just so I get a little more comfortable with it. So I may bring back the appropriations and certificate of estimated resources just based on the 5-year, at least for the general fund.
And I think that's actually listed down in the meeting
Yep.
see for us when we get there. Awesome. Great. Was that it, Rainer, for finance?
That's all I had.
Okay,
Yeah.
how about extracurricular? Did we meet for that? Anybody know?
We,
I don't think we did.
I think the one we had was before the last board meeting, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Career Center?
The only thing that I have was I had sent an email. Deb Purcell had asked me to kind of talk to the board about what kind of satellite programs that we're looking for. High Point is really, they're kind of asking all of the districts to kind of get an idea of some new programs that we can do. So those of you that had sent me your answers, I passed them on to Deb, so they have those, and that's really all that, anything new that's from last month.
Okay, and something that I'll actually add to that if you don't mind. It was
Okay.
interesting. I got an email from
Dr. Smith.
Dr. Smith down there about asking me, I had some questions about it. And it was really, I wasn't sure what they had offered down there still, so I was actually able to jump on the website. They've actually got a pretty nice website to let you know what they offer.
Awesome.
But I had some ideas of kind of back to the old school when I was in high school, some of the things that they offered. And it was nice to see most of those were actually offered down there, so I'm glad we still offer those for students. So that's good. So if you want to know what's going on, they definitely have a nice website that you can maneuver around and find out. Great. Okay, policy.
Policy met, it was pretty brief. We just had to finalize our face mask policy. We've kind of been putting it off, waiting to see what's the new mandate going to be or what's the new requirement. And so we're just taking the real basic mandate, state mandated approach to face masks. So we're adopting that tonight. And the other thing that we had to change was our specialized student services handbook. When we approved it back in May, we hadn't trained the elementary principals yet on how to do what's called a PR01, and so we've done that. So all we need to do is update the names because I was the one listed, so that means that I get a little bit of a break and they'll pick up the slack now that they know how to do it. So it's a real simple change. So those were our two policy committee changes. And if possible, I may just offer one other kind of meeting that happened that we're super excited about because it doesn't happen very often. And Jill and I were able to sit down with the mayor and talk about our kids, talk about our schools, and talk about how we connect those, our community with our schools. And she's very creative and very outside of the box, and we're super excited about some things that the city may be able to partner with us on where we have some gaps and fill. So I think that that's going to be super exciting for us. And we're excited to work close with the city on filling those gaps and serving all of our people.
Well, I love that because I think that's hugely important for our community.
And I'm not sure if the broadband grant had come through prior to, I can't keep track of where something comes in and where one meeting started, but if we didn't mention, we did get some of the broadband conductivity grant. Ryan, was it about 17,000?
Yeah.
And so what that's going to do for us is it allows us to get hotspots for some of our families that don't have access. It allows us to put hotspots in things like the parking lots so that we kind of create an area if someone would need a space that they could come to our parking lots and do remote. Now, we hope we're not remote learning. I mean, we're getting good at it, but we don't want to be. Really don't want to be good at it.
I don't know who you're saying is getting good.
So we're getting good at it, so, but we don't want to do it anymore. But if we,
Struggle.
if we had to do it, we're going to have more accessibility. And that was one of the things we talked about with the mayor, was maybe even looking at some places, other places in the city where people could get access. So was that pretty much what we wrote it for? Ryan, did I forget anything?
You got it.
So it's exciting for us. Every little bit helps. And this one's a good grant because it helps people that didn't have access before, just in general.
Yep. So does that mean like certain individual families will get them, or is that we're just, okay?
Yep, we bought some, when everything happened back in May, we served every family that, we found a way.
Yeah.
And a lot of that, Ryan, do you remember, was that the High School That Works grant? Was that the one we pulled out of?
That would be a bad question.
I think it was.
Okay, I don't remember because we had a lot of grants, but I think we pulled some of our money from supplies to be able to help families get through. This one, we're actually able to pay for a full year's contract. And so we're, right? No, we only did this.
Cover service up to December 31st.
But we were able to use other money to make sure that they had a full year contract.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
Awesome.
So we're able to give families a full year access when they did not have any access.
Yeah, it was a weird grant because you couldn't prepay for service past December 30th. 30th or 1st, I think it was 30th. It was weird, but we made it work.
We have a good grant writing team.
Good, okay. All right, doesn't look like we have any old business. So let's go ahead and move on to new business. Item 10 is personnel items. Looks like we've got a medical leave for Sarah and then some supplemental contracts. Oh, and list of volunteers. Paperwork approved. We've got 2 substitute teachers, but I think more to come, the way it sounds. And then paternity leave for Casey, approved medical leave for Mary. Okay, let's go ahead and have a motion for that, please.
Striker.
Thank you, Sheena. And a second?
Good.
Thank you. Any questions, or I think most of that was pretty straightforward.
Yeah, we did have some things come in very late. So you'll see in a little, at the end, that we're going to schedule a special board meeting. And so some of those will be to hire some subs. So for those of you that have been helping us publicize for subs, we really appreciate it. We're starting to get some people to come in, and it helps everybody because they get to work and our kids get to be served. So we're still working on those. We also did have, just to mention, 2 resignations, and if they don't fill internally, they'll go external, and they're not on this agenda. One was a teacher got a job closer to her home, and she drives very, very far. And so we're super excited for her. But there was a 1st grade position, and then a 2nd shift custodial position opened up, and we have our 2 weeks notice for that. So they didn't make this agenda, just so you know, but when we have that special meeting, why we need to have one soon is so we can accept those, and then since they're already posted, maybe even hire some people.
Okay. We take a vote on that.
Mr. Carney?
Yes.
Mr. Dick?
Yes.
Mr. Buckley?
Yes.
And Ms. Striker?
Yes.
Okay, item 11, authorization and resolutions. A, there's actually what Brandon had mentioned with transferring from the 200 to the 300. B and C is what Jill had already mentioned for the appropriations and certificate. We did have some change of policies, and I think that was for the facial coverings. And those are some MOUs. I guess not MOUs. Could I have a motion?
Ledley.
Ledley, and a second.
Stryker.
Stryker, thank you.
So I'll just address the couple things that we didn't talk about. So the MOUs are just because remote and distance learning is not something that we do with regard to our contracts. So we just, we just have agreements on how that will look and how that will work. So it's basically the same kind of thing that we adopt. That's actually, I think, pretty much the same thing that we adopted back in probably the 1st of May when we realized that we were kind of out for the year. So we're just getting that one updated. The other one to look at is back, if you think back, before everything went crazy, we did have monies and we did adopt a resolution and allocated funds for second resource officer. However, as soon as we did that, we shut down. And so we didn't go back, and we just kind of wanted to see how things went, and we were in just such chaos anyway of trying to get everything filled. Well, now that we've continued to have conversations, we know we want the second resource officer. So what I did was I went back and updated the contracts, both Dan's, contract officer Dan's, and the new one, so that we'll run through December of 2021, because we run January to December contracts with the city. And so we'll run starting as soon as the second officer completes the resource officer training. We'll start that immediately, and then, like I said, him and, I'm not sure who it is, but both officers then will have contracts with us through December of 2021. Does that make sense? So they're in place, and that's what that second part is. And I believe that the city already passed, and they're all good with their portion because they pay. They basically, since it's a full year contract and we're not in school for around 3 months, because we're going to be in school the rest of the, yeah, there's no worries about Kenton. But, so the city covers that summertime when we wouldn't be in session. So that's the piece of the salary that they pay.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that is
Well,
awesome.
glad to hear that.
And that was one of the big ticket items I kept pestering
Yep.
Ken about. So I'd like to thank the mayor and Chief Musser for getting that together, because that was one thing that I was concerned about, and I've talked to Jen a lot about. So I
Yeah.
really appreciate the work with Jen and Mayor Webb and Chief Musser.
We're super glad. And the only other safety thing that we're really waiting on that got pushed back so far with the pandemic was the window screens. So outside of all the buildings, when you come in, people on the outside can't really see in, but will be able to see out. And that was one of the safety pieces that we allocated funds for back in March, did all these things. And I just checked, and they're still on back order. So as soon as we get that up and running, I think we'll have most of the safety pieces in place too. So it's really great things happening.
Good deal. Okay, with no further discussion, let's go ahead and vote.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Mr. Ledley?
Yes.
Ms. Stryker?
Yes.
Mr. Carlini?
Okay, adjournment is 7:19. And we are going to have a special board meeting, as Jen mentioned, on September 30th at 5:30. It will be held virtually.
So we'll send out the
So
link.
we'll send out the link for that. And then the next board meeting, the regular board meeting will actually take place on October 19th, 2020 at 7 p.m.
All right.
Jeez. We are